Why, hello, this is the Piping Presbyter, and this is not a video about drinking responsibly, although you should. This is rather a video about how to infuse different kinds of aromas and different flavors into your flake tobacco. That's what I'm focusing on this time. And basically what you're going to need is a preferably glass receptacle. The more of your receptacle is plastic, the more those flavors are perhaps going to become mixed with the plastic itself, since this is going to take many weeks. I've had fine success using just Pyrex. Then you are going to need some kind of drinkable solvent. In this case, I'm using Appleton Estate rum. It is it's not my favorite rum, but it works fine for this. I've tested it. And then you're going to need some kind of vessel that when it sits inside of the container I would say at least a 1/4 inch, but the more the better, beneath the rim, so that it will be able to evaporate over time. And then you can choose what you want to put in your alcohol. And the idea is that when you put your flake tobacco in here, or it can be a mixture as well that works just as fine, but the alcohol has the various ingredients put into it. As you can see here, what I have in here is a mixture I used previously with good success with my Virginia flake. I have 5 cloves, a pinch of brown sugar, some anise seed, which is the little seed that you see there. It has a kind of licoricey flavor, and then some maple syrup. I am going to pour a whole shot glass's worth of rum into here. It should never come in direct contact with the tobacco. It's going to sit here just like this. The flake, you'll see in the next part of this, I'm going to rest along the sides, and then over the course of several weeks, I've found that I like to leave it in there for 4 weeks. Just through evaporation, the shot glass will become 50% emptied. And the volatile aromas and flavors become infused with the tobacco. The tobacco will become very pungent when you take the lid off after 4 weeks. It'll be very, very strong. Don't worry about that. You're then going to rest it either by leaving it for a number of weeks in just a typical tobacco tin, and it will slowly dry out and kind of degas, or for a couple of hours, because it's going to be so moist when you take the lid off that the tobacco would just fall apart in your fingers if you tried to pick it up. So you're just going to take the lid off, and ideally, this is what I recommend, you're going to take the lid off and just let it sit there for maybe 3 hours or 4 hours. It's going to be really, really moist. You want it to dry out so that you are able to pick it up without it falling apart again. Don't worry about losing all those flavors. It's going to be too strong when you first do this. But what I have found, sorry about that, what I've found is that when I do this, I rest it for a couple hours, then I put it in a jar, I put a lid on. When I come back to it after about a week, then the smell has decreased by 90%, and it's just a nice aroma with the Virginia tobacco. I pick up, and I've asked other people without saying anything about it, without telling them what they're smelling. I ask them, what do you smell? And I hear people who are not connoisseurs of tobacco, when they compare the exact same flake, but one of them has been put through this process, the other is not. They're from the same batch. People say the first one smells like tobacco and raisin, which is pretty typical. The second, they say things like banana. This isn't prompted. I don't tell them anything's different. Banana, vanilla, clove, notes of chocolate. It just becomes way more complex. And then when you smoke it, sorry, this is visually the most boring video ever. When you smoke it, I find it becomes even more smooth than it already was, and it's noticeably sweeter but the flavors are way more complex. And any of the ashiness that I've experienced with my flake in the past just is gone. It makes it really smooth. So it takes a month. Just got to leave it there. Here's one last note. The last note is before putting flake in here, I set out the pieces. In fact, they're on my patio right now outside drying. I set them out on a table to dry, and I'll leave them there until they're almost to the point of being brittle. Not quite that dry, but almost to the brittle point. That is to maximize their ability to absorb the gases, the evaporating liquid. So this is from my past batch, and you'll see this started out completely full, and the equivalent of half a tin of tobacco absorbed half a shot glass of rum. So I'll do the same thing here, start another batch in. Maybe I'll show you when I finish that up. But that is my basic process. If you know of a better way, please leave it in the comments. Or if you have questions, feel free to share, because this is not the only way. You can use other things. I'm experimenting right now using Islay scotches to do English blends to get an added peatiness to them. So this is just a way of avoiding putting alcohol directly on tobacco. You can do that too, but you run the risk of getting an ashy flavor when sugar combusts in your smoking it. So if you know, share your ways with me. Thank you. Again, this is Piping Presbyter. Have a great day.